Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Good afternoon, and welcome to County Executive Pittman's virtual press conference. Today, the County Executive will share an announcement and updates on Juneteenth, Pride, and the budget. We'll take questions after the updates. As a reminder, please put your name and media affiliation in the chat, and I'll call on folks for questions in that order. And please keep your microphone and camera off unless you're called upon to ask a question. With that, Mr. County Executive.
All right, thank you, Jeff. And I do want to start with Juneteenth. We are still in Pride Month, and we had a wonderful celebration in the city of Annapolis. Huge march and parade, and continue to celebrate the diversity of our county. And this weekend, we're doing it all over again. We're going to have the Juneteenth Festival and Parade on Saturday. And if folks show up at noon at City Dock, there will be the beginning of the parade, and we will march from City Dock to Maryland Hall and the Bates Athletic Complex. And there will be a festival there. It's free. It will run until 9:30 in the evening. There will be fireworks at the end. Last year was the first year for this, and it was huge. And I want to commend the organizers of that. It's going to be bigger this year, we expect. Next Monday is a county and a state and a city employees holiday. And so I wish everybody the happiest Juneteenth, celebrating the end of slavery in the United States of America. I also want to talk about very recent news. Just a couple of hours ago, the Arundel County Council, for the first time in a long time, passed a budget almost unanimously. It was a bipartisan vote of the County Council, 6-1, approving a budget very close to what we presented to them just a few short weeks ago. And I am really thrilled about this. It's probably one of the highlights of the 4 years in office to see our county council come together in a bipartisan way and adopt an agenda that really truly does respect the local institutions of government in this county. You know, we're in the midst of partisan conflict in Washington, growing economic hardship across the country, and attacks on the basic institutions of government. And here in Anne Arundel County, we showed today that our two political parties are able to come together and support a budget that delivers the services that our residents depend on. So delivering a bipartisan budget just 3 months after receiving the first ever AAA bond rating from Moody's in this county sends a very strong signal to our residents that we can and we will move forward together to make this county the best place for all. It's a budget that on the public safety front made some major infrastructure investments, as well as investments in police, fire, detention, salary, so that we don't lose our best people and that we can continue to recruit and retain the best first responders in the region. And for our school system, this was a historic investment. We went over $50 million above last year, which is the biggest increase in county history of funding for our school system. And for our teachers, the most important asset in our schools, aside from the students themselves, they finally got the last installment of their backstep increases that they had not gotten during the last recession. So we finally caught up for those teachers, gotten them pretty decent pay increases that I think most teachers are happy with. We would always like to do more, but we have to be able to recruit and retain the best teachers. And we're keeping up on our school construction budget. In fact, we added a new school to that as well. So as this county has grown over the years, and we are finally catching up with the infrastructure and the services that our residents always demand. We've had 29 budget town halls now since I took office 4 years ago. And consistently we hear from people that they want more services. They want their basic needs met, the things that government is supposed to do and can do. And I recognize, and I think we all recognize, that we are in tough economic times. And it is during these times where county government services are probably needed more than ever. It's very important that we've funded record funding for our rec and parks, $99 million in the capital budget for our parks, putting more money into maintaining our parks. putting more money into public transportation and affordable housing. The only way that the economy of our county can move forward is if our small businesses can hire the workers that they need, and they need transportation, and they need to be able to live here to be able to work here. So it's a great budget. We have called it the best budget for all. The only no vote that we saw, I think the case made for that vote from Councilwoman Hare was that it's just too big, too much growth. And I think if you actually sit through these budget town halls and you listen to our residents, you'll hear that it's not that it's too big. We were able to do this actually while reducing taxes, while reducing our borrowing, while putting more money into our rainy day fund to set us up for future economic downturns. This is a budget that is, as Councilman Volke said, it's a fiscally disciplined budget. It's a fiscally responsible budget that does set us up for whatever the future might bring. So it's been a great honor to have the support of 6 of our 7 council members for this budget. And we look forward to letting people know more about what's in it and getting moving July 1st, doing some of the hiring that is involved in it and moving forward in our county. So we do have our budget officer, Chris Trumbauer, here. If there are any questions about specifics in the budget, I think a lot of these things we talked about when we introduced the budget. Not a lot has changed. I will note that the council generally does improve the budget somewhat. They found some cuts with the help of the auditor, some savings that we supported, and they put some of those to good things, such as an additional shift, fire department 911 callers. And then we actually added in a supplemental budget request to the council that was approved additional funding for our school bus drivers. The school board budget request did not quite get them to where they needed to be to at least maintain the supplement that we gave them this year. And we need to be able to hire and retain those drivers to get our kids to school. We have to address that issue. I'm very concerned about the new school start times next year. I think you heard from the county council on that topic, and I've met with the leadership of the board and the superintendent and actually requested that they hold off for 1 year on that, so that our team at Rec and Parks, who does childcare, and our school bus driving, the contractors, as well as our police department, who hires the crossing guards, can make the changes that they need. And most of the changes to be able to staff those positions would take a year to implement. So we made that request. I don't know whether that's going to be honored or not. We're planning for the new school start times in the fall this year. So that's why we put in a budget request for the bus drivers and the crossing guards. And then we also added a couple $1 million for our incredible staff at our community college, whose budget request didn't quite get them, after they saw what inflation was doing, didn't quite get them to where other staff were in the county. So that creates some equity there. So I will stop at that on the budget and pass it back over to Jeff. I believe we have a short, some comments from our health officer about vaccines for children under 5 that may be coming. And then of course we'll take any questions. So back to you, Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. County Executive. We'll kick it over briefly to Dr. Kalyana Raman for comments on vaccines.
Thank you, County Executive. So I just wanted to provide an update on where we are with vaccines for kids. The FDA is having hearings today and tomorrow about 2 different sets of vaccines. One is for the 6 month to 4-year-olds with Moderna and Pfizer. And then the second is 6-year to 17-year-olds for Moderna. I'm going to focus on the ones for the smallest kids because that's where all the interest is, and obviously those kids don't have a vaccine yet. So we've been working with the state health department to make sure that we are ready to vaccinate, assuming the FDA approves the emergency use authorization for those 6 months to 4-year-old children. The CDC will then need to weigh in and provide their recommendations, and that's scheduled to happen, assuming FDA approval, on Friday and Saturday. We are ready to, assuming all of that goes through, we're ready to begin vaccinating next week, starting as early as Tuesday, depends on when we get shipment of vaccines. And we're doing it through a variety of mechanisms. We'll be vaccinating at health department vaccination sites. we've also been working with pediatrics practices for many months now to do planning. And so we're able to transfer doses of vaccine to any pediatricians who request it. We're also going to be providing support to practices. So both providing vaccination staff on site, if that's what they request, or providing support staff to draw up vaccines, to do storage, and to hand off those vaccines to the staff at that pediatrician's office. So I think we're well positioned as a county to be able to vaccinate those youngest children who haven't had access yet. And we'll obviously have more next week, assuming the FDA and the CDC weigh in before then. So wanted to provide that update, and over to you, Jeff.
All right, with that, we'll take a few questions. Just a reminder, please put your name and media affiliation into the chat, and we'll call on folks for questions in that order. First up, we've got Don Harrison, Channel 2.
Yes, sir. Good morning, everyone. Or good afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, just a quick question, Mr. Executive. Can you fill us in some more details of what's going on with the celebrations for Juneteenth this coming up? The parade and other activities.
Yeah, there's a gala the night before on Friday, and which you can get tickets to. I believe they're still available, but the main event that is for the public and that will be large will be meeting at City Dock, which is it's the site of the Alex Haley Memorial. It's a UNESCO Middle Passage site of remembrance because it was a port where enslaved people were brought from Africa and brought to this colony in this country. And so it's a location that is appropriate to launch this investigation and the celebration in this march. So meeting there, marching to Bates and Maryland Hall, Bates Athletic Complex right behind it. And there will be vendors, there will be live music. There will be a lot of people there from 2 o'clock to 9:30, I'm told. And it will be a great time for all. There will be vendors there selling African garb that people can wear to celebrate the African heritage of the enslaved people in this country, and families, kids. It's a great time for all. So encourage folks to come out. In order to park, best thing to do is to come to Navy Stadium, and I believe it's $10 to park for the day and free transportation shuttle bus to get into town.
And Monday is the county holiday, correct?
Yes.
With we have, I guess, a little more than 300,000 employees in the county. What's the fiscal hit for one day off for everybody for that holiday?
Chris Trummer may know if anything has been actually calculated on that. I think it's not significant. I know we looked at that, as did every jurisdiction that did this, but Chris, do you have anything to?
So there's sure, Chris Trumauer, the budget officer. There's not a direct fiscal impact because we don't pay additional money as a result of this. It's just an added holiday. So, and generally, it's a negligible effect on productivity. I think there is some small fiscal impact for essential positions that would need to come and may get overtime or something like that. But it's not a big impact. If you want a real number, I can look up our fiscal note from when the legislation passed and get that to you.
Sure. Yeah, I'm just curious about that. That'd be great. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Don. Next up, John Fernay, Annapolis.
Hi, this is for the county executive and about the budget, I guess. And you submitted the supplemental budget for the bus drivers. And I was trying to find out what were the results of the last time that we did this? Have we gone through the $5,000 bonus and I know Bob Moser's not on the call, but was that a successful program to bring more drivers into the system? Because it didn't seem that we improved our busability, if you will, at the end of the year as it was at the beginning.
Well, if you talk to the contractors, it was a success. There were, it was managed through our Workforce Development Corporation. And while they were and this funding also goes through workforce development to the contractors and then to the drivers. There were hiring events that took place during that time. And the report was that people were coming on board because we were more competitive with our neighbors, and that it was more attractive. The reason that this was really necessary was that we and they expected there to be a budget request that would have put the retention bonus into the hourly pay so that it would have been continued. And there was an increase, and we did fund it in the request, but we couldn't fund more than the request. It wasn't as much as the retention bonus. So in order to keep it at that level, we had to do another but smaller retention bonus for this year. Future years, it's going to have to be in the budget request to keep them at least at the level that they're at now. Now, there was a reduction in the number of buses that were not picking kids up. And it had a little bit of up and down. I believe it was better at the end, but Bob Mosier would have to give you the answer to that exactly. I mean, you can look at the stats every single day and see how many routes, but there were about 40 routes, I believe, that were not operating when we started.
Right. And do you know, and again, Bob Moser's not on the call, but do you know whether the school is really ramping up? Because honestly, school's starting in 2 months. And, to onboard new drivers and everything else, I mean, has there been a full court press on that? Do you know?
Yeah, I do know that they've been working hard at it. I know that they've been implementing some of the recommendations of the consultant's report on changing how they operate, making it more efficient, so they don't have as many buses running that are not full. So we're hoping that process helps to solve the problem as well, and there are fewer buses not operating. But as you know, that's a school system project, and all we do is provide the funding.
All righty, thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, John. Next up, Rob Lang, WBAL Radio. And again, if you have a question, put your name and media affiliation in the chat. Rob, you're up.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Mr. County Executive, following up on John's question, how close is the county to filling all of the vacancies? I mean, are there still vacancies, and are they going to be filled by August in time for the start of the new school year?
I believe there will continue to be vacancies, just as there will continue to be vacancies in the teaching staff and the rest of the school staff. There will be vacancies, I'm told, in rec and parks for childcare, just as there are vacancies throughout county government and throughout the private sector as well. This is I have often said that one of the things that concerns me most about the future in delivering services to the residents of this county is our ability to compete with and hire and retain the staff we need to deliver the services. And there are signs that people are coming back to work. There's some of the workforce that did not come back after COVID, and there's been some gradual increases there. And we all have to do the best that we can to make these jobs attractive, to make public service something desirable that people want to do. That's one reason why it upsets me as much as it does when some people, politicians, often will attack these institutions as though they're somehow not working in the public interest, when the people in those institutions, our teachers, our firefighters, our police officers, our public works staff, are truly public servants, and they're doing this not just for the paycheck, but also because they do feel good about the service that they're providing. But we have to compete.
One other related question to the schools, Anne Arundel County the school board expected to approve the hiring of the new superintendent on Friday. Give me your thoughts on him.
All I know is what I've read, and the first thing I did was I found out when the rest of you found out. It was a closely held decision, as it should be, and I went straight to the internet, and I particularly read what was being said about him in Kansas City, where they were losing him, and I saw nothing but praise, and his record was stellar. And I read the mayor's comments on him as well, and I could see the disappointment. I could read between the lines the disappointment, which makes me optimistic. So I really look forward to meeting him and working together to not only make our school system as good as it can be and provide great schools, but continue to connect county departments and resources with the school systems, our mental health joint task force, our opportunity gap joint task force. We have really worked hard with Dr. Arlato and his team to do that, and we're going to continue to do that, I know.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right, last call for questions. If you have a question, please put your name and media affiliation in the chat. All right, that'll wrap us. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.